Dehradun police have now ruled out racial motives in the death of Angel Chakma, a 22-year-old student from Tripura whose death triggered anger and grief across the country. Officials have said that remarks exchanged before the incident were made in jest and should not be construed as racial abuse. There was no planning to the murder, confusion led to the crime. That's what police have said. Angel Chakma was studying in Dehradun. He was studying MBA in a college and was amongst the first in his batch to get placed. He died, unfortunately, following an altercation with fellow students that led to arrests of 5 people. Angel Chakma's family and members of the Chakma community have alleged that the confrontation carried racial undertones, pointing to discrimination that's often faced by students from India's northeast. Police, however, insisted that their investigation did not find any evidence of a hate crime. It was not a racial attack. That's what a senior police officer said. He also added that comments were casual in nature and they were not intended to offend. Now, all of this is very difficult to believe because we do have the testimonies of the brother also. Now, the case has sparked a wider debate on student safety, racial sensitivity and the treatment of minority communities in India's educational hubs. In Tripura, community leaders have demanded a deeper probe, while student groups in Dehradun have called for stronger anti-discrimination measures on campuses. So what are the claims of these police? Is this an eyewash to hide the actual crime? Or do we need to look deeper into the reasons? Let's first take a look at some reactions.
जो इंसिडेंट हुआ ये क्या कहीं प्रायोजित तो नहीं था, कहीं पूर्व सुनियोजित तो नहीं था, या किसी और कारणों से इंटेंशन से यह घटना तो कारित नहीं की गई, लेकिन सबके द्वारा अलग अलग इंफॉर्मेशन बताया गया कि सडन हीट ऑफ द मोमेंट में एक कंफ्यूजन में हुआ और जब ज्यादा आक्रोशित हो गए तो इसमें इस तरह से आवेश में आकर इस तरह से हमला कर लिया। कहीं कोई इंटेंशन मारने की थी। अननोन में जब लिखा जाता है केस तो उसकी जाति जब क्लियर ही नहीं कि सामने वाला कौन था और विक्टिम जो बता रहा है तो उसके बाद सामने वाली पार्टी कौन थी। और जब ये जांच के बाद जब हमने उनको 14 तारीख को पूरी जांच करने के बाद जब इनको आइडेंटिफाई करके अरेस्ट किया था तो उसमें 3 लोग जो है खुद ही उसी मतलब जैसे कहा गया कि एक मणिपुर का खुद ही एक था, वो खुद शेड्यूल ट्राइब से था, एक यहाँ का शेड्यूल ट्राइब से था। तो वो जो नस्ली भावनाएं जो हम समझते हैं कि कहीं ना कहीं तभी उत्पन्न होती हैं जब हम डिफरेंस ऑफ रेस, रिलीजन या कास्ट या हम प्लेस ऑफ ओरिजिन से हम डिफरेंशिएट करते हैं अपने आप को। इस केस में ऐसा नहीं था कि जो ग्रुप था उसमें से खुद ही ट्राइबल उसमें बैकग्राउंड से थे, तो रेशियलिज्म की जो बात है वो इन्वेस्टिगेशन में अभी तक नहीं आई है। हम लोग आ रहे थे उधर से, तो हम लोग आए तो हम लोग अपना बाइक से अपना आ रहे थे हम लोग सब, तो उन लोग हम लोग को मेरे को थोड़ा पोक कर रहा था कि चिंकी उनकी मेरे को थोड़ा सा रेसिज्म कर रहा था, तो मैं थोड़ा अपने तरफ से अपने सेल्फ डिफेंस मतलब थोड़ा बोल रहा था कि भैया क्या हो गया करके उधर पे। हम लोग अपना उस समय फोन में बात कर रहा था, मैं अपना कन्फेस किया कि भैया क्या वो गाली क्यों दे रहे हो। तो उनका वो प्लानिंग था क्या था वो मेरे को पता नहीं, पर उन्होंने डायरेक्ट मेरे में अटैक कर दिया उन लोग ने। तो फिर भैया आया मेरे को बचाने के लिए आया, फिर भैया को मेरे को कड़ा से मारा लगा उससे, फिर भैया को उन लोगों ने चाकू मार दिया स्पाइन की तरफ में।
We're joined by Alok Lal, who's a former DGP Uttarakhand. We are also joined by Subir Bhaumik, who's a senior journalist. We have Laiju Brahma, and Laiju heads the All Bodo Students Union. Thank you. He's the General Secretary there. Thank you all of you for being part of the broadcast. Mr. Alok Lal, I remember speaking to you yesterday and you hinted at this, the fact that there could or could not be any evidence of this being a racial crime. How do you interpret the police's dismissal of racial motives, and what does this also talk about our own systemic bias in India against crimes like this?
Basudha, I am not personally involved in the investigation. All I know about this case is through either media or through hearsay.
Yes, sir.
So what the SSP has said today is based on what he has closely supervised the investigation itself. And he has spoken to a number of people, as he says.
Right.
And the circumstances that surrounded this unfortunate incident. Well, I will not go by what the SSP has said straight away, because this is an investigation which might take a few days more to arrive at a conclusion which cannot be denied. So what I'll say is that we should look at the enormity of this crime. This is very unfortunate, and we should look at it with the acceptance that we have a racial attitude in our society,
yes,
and racialism has to be put down. So to prevent and to respond to these activities, has to be seen to be being done by the government and by the police. I think, therefore, while the statement of the SSP cannot be dismissed straight away,
Right.
but we must look at it from especially from the statement of the brother who was
Absolutely.
there.
Right.
And the brother keeps saying that there was a racial slur.
Yeah. Absolutely.
began the whole
That's a very,
thing.
very important
You
point,
can't
Mr. Lal.
dismiss.
Yeah, let me get in Elijah Brahma as well. Elijah Brahma, how do you look at whatever the SSP has said today? Because the investigation is still going on. We already have the testimonies, the statements of Michael Chakma, who was present there at that incident spot. But what kind of impact does this have on, students from the Northeast?
I'm so sorry, the audio is very less, so I can't hear much, but I'll just speak what's on my mind. This kind of things keep on happening, but it has been many years since it didn't happen, but now it has happened again. So our northeastern blood is boiling like crazy. It feels very unsafe for our future students also. Not only us, we have already finished our studies, but it's giving us a very genuine and concern that what will happen to our upcoming students. So I hope the police will take the required action they should take for our northeastern people, and I hope everyone normalizes us and treat us like every Indian are treated.
Right.
That's all.
Subir Bhaumik, we have heard the brother talk about the kind of racial slurs that were used on that particular day. This is a man who has died. This is a student who has died. So clearly, when police say that there was no racial angle to this, is there a part of you that wants to question that? Because I'm not ready to believe that all of this just happened in jest.
Well, I'm myself from Tripura, and I know the Chakma community very well. They're very well integrated, into the Indian quote-unquote mainstream. I really don't believe in this nonsense of mainstream, because there can't be one mainstream and all other streams flowing into it. India is a diverse country, and we all need to respect diversity. Vasudha, these things have been happening for a long, long time. And this racialism, I can give you some definite evidence. Apart from the attacks on people from Northeast, they multiplied in Delhi to the extent that the Delhi police had to start a special helpline and put somebody from Northeast in charge of that, to monitor such crimes or to, come up with, proper action as and when the crimes were reported.
Right.
But, this is something that policing cannot handle, for the very simple reason that if this, you set up something in Delhi, it happens somewhere else like Dehradun. Now, I spent my childhood in Dehradun. I studied in RIMC Dehradun. I'm a student from there in the military school. These things don't exist in military schools because you are taught very early that everybody is an Indian and everybody has the same rights. But, this persists in other educational institutions. And, I really take umbrage with the fact with the investigating officer saying there were some casual remarks.
Yes.
Now, if you call somebody chinky, momo,
It's not casual at all.
and you think it is a casual remark, well,
Absolutely.
this is definitely racist.
Absolutely.
I'll give you one small example. A top columnist in one of the leading papers of the country, I don't want to take names, wrote that thankfully I went there and I got a proper, treatment in a proper spa, and not from a Linda from Northeast. Because, in this hospitality trade, a lot of these girls from Northeast, they are preponderant. So obviously this columnist, well known, had an issue. So these things are reflected not only, when these kind of incidents happen when people go and beat up each other, but point here is that this was a case of murder.
Right.
So, and
That's a
murder
very
in the sense
important,
that,
reflection point, Subir Bhaumik, for all of us, because the language is the first way of, sort of bridge of communication. And, you did a nice thing by pointing out that often what we see as casual might have those racial undertones that we need to reflect upon. We also joined by Philip Takil-Changbam, who is a PhD candidate from the Center of Political Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University. Thank you, Philip. How do you explain the impact of Angel Chakma's murder on the students from the northeast of India, because the murder is one unfortunate reality. It's tragic. It's still sinking in. But now the police is also saying, they're also saying that there may not have been a racial angle to this. So help us understand, how are you all coping?
Oh, thank you, Basudha. First of all, thank you so much for having me. How do this incident impact the student community from Northeast India here in Delhi? This is the question. If truly speaking, first of all, we are truly second, and we are really infuriated by the thing that have been unfolded recently. But the more interesting fact here is how do the public respond to this situation? Because this is not something that we are facing right now, all of a new. These are numerous incidents. These are the incidents that we have been facing for so long, that we keep facing on for decades. Let me go back to back in 2014 when Nido Tania was killed, brutally murdered in Delhi Lajpat Nagar.
Yes.
There was a huge protest from the student community. Even a committee was formed to seek recommendation for combating this issue. Yeah. But how far this committee, the recommendation of the Base Bara committee that was constituted in 2014 back then by the UPA government.
Philip, one more question to you, Philip. One more question to you. One of the main recommendations of that Base Bara committee was also a law to counter racial abuse, specifically for students of northeastern states. Do you think that the time is now, at least, like, it's a reminder that there needs to be a law like that? Or is it just about, because yesterday I did speak to a lot of people, Alok Lal and a lot of other people have been stressing on behavioral change, the kind of language that we need to improve, the kind of communities that we need to build, and not just laws, because laws often exist. It's just about implementation and bringing about societal change. Do you think that laws might bring the required change that you want?
Okay, about laws. In a society, we need laws. We cannot guarantee that by having laws, we cannot stop racism or this kind of racial injustices committed towards a particular community, because racism operates capillary. Racism operates in the micro practices of power relations and everyday discriminations. So even if we have laws, we can't guarantee that this will abruptly stop these racial practices, but at least there will be a safeguard for the student, for the people coming from that particular region who are working here in call centers, in malls, in service sectors, and mostly the student communities, and the women who have been constantly a target of the racial practices across the mainstream.
Absolutely, Philip. That's a very important point. There needs to be that extra layer of protection assurance, especially from the legal side. Alok Lal, there's one thing that the SSP said, which is making me think. He's saying that 3 of the 5 accused also, one of them is a minor and one of them comes from the ST community, and one of them was from Manipur. And he says that that's also a reason why he thinks that this may not have racial undertones, because racial discrimination is often carried out by people who come from a different, race. How do you look at that?
Yes, that's a statement from SSB which has got to be taken seriously, because those who attacked.
Let me clarify this. I find it.
1 second, Philip.
I find it very.
Yeah, Philip, please go on.
I find it very funny with the argument, because racism is a very contextual phenomenon. So I'm really interested, who is the person, like the SSB is referring to, the one who comes from Manipur. I want to know the credential of the person. Through my investigation and through my research, I got to know that this is a person who has close ties with the Garhwal community. I don't want to mention the name. So in Uttarakhand, the particular person might not be having any problem with the community coming from the northeast region are facing as they used to face in any other regions. So maybe some other person who comes from from Northeast or Meghalaya or Nagaland might be having problem in Dehradun, but the particular person who comes from this Manipur might not be having any problem with the in this particular.
So there are many layers to this.
So,
it's a very important point, Alok Lal. Please finish your point.
Layers of discrimination. It's like an onion. When you
the
open
point
one cover,
that Philip is raising.
Philip, I'll just come back to you. Let Alok Lal finish his point. I'll come back to you. Alok Lal,
what Philip has said has got to be taken into consideration when any evidence is being analyzed. Is this man who is from the Northeast, for some reason of his own, attacking this person so badly? It was a big hit. It was a bad hit. It was almost fatal to begin with. Why was he hit so intently as if to cause death? So my feeling is that there was something underlying also in this incident.
Right.
Why this person should be hit so badly in case it was just a local kind of...
Absolutely.
As was stated by the SSP.
So look, I think that is also for the police to investigate. Laiju Brahma is back with us. Laiju, we're talking about how the police have called this, a crime that may not be racial in nature. What kind of impact has this had on students who are still grieving the death of Angel Chakma?
I want to know if this kind of incidents, it doesn't happen very often, but if it happens to mostly Northeastern students. Why is it that? This could have happened to some other people also, but why is it a Northeastern person? Right. Why he is bullied at this point that he died? This is too much. So I want the police to investigate thoroughly, and whatever is it, if it is racial, non-racial, we just need to know why this happened.
Absolutely, that's a very fair ask. Thank you, Ms. Brahma. Subir Bhaumik, for the benefit of our viewers, can you explain to us what is this Chakma community? Who comprise the Chakma community, and they come from Tripura, is what I understand, and also the kind of accusation that this could have been a racial crime, especially coming from the victim's brother himself.
No, Chakmas are basically from Chittagong Hill Tracts, which is now in Bangladesh. Their leaders wanted to join India in 1947 when Cyril Ratcliffe went ahead with the Bengal Boundary Award and gave Chittagong Hill Tracts to Pakistan. But most Chakmas are Buddhists. There are some other tribes there as well. And my book is on Chittagong Hill Tracts, actually. So I know these people very well. And I have several Chakma friends. Many of them are in Tripura. Many of them are in Mizoram. And quite a few of them were resettled and are now in Arunachal Pradesh, where there is a strident demand by Arunachali Students' Union that they should not be given Indian citizenship. So there are a lot of problems that they face in India. Bulk of them, a huge amount of Chakmas actually migrated to Northeast India in 1960s when Pakistan created the Kaptai Dam on River Karnafuli, which left a lot of people landless because of the creation of reservoirs and all that.
Right.
And interestingly, these Chakma people in Bangladesh from 1975 to 1997, they fought an armed insurgency against Bangladesh government because they protested takeover of tribal lands, and a lot of other issues were there.
Absolutely.
They had demand for autonomy and they fought.
So
but
many layers to this community as well. Right.
But there are people, they have a substantial population in Tripura.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir, for that understanding. Philip, last word to you. Help us understand what is your ask of the government, of the society, and most importantly, of the police here.
What is my request?
Yes, sir. Yes, please.
So, okay. So I think at the end of the day, it's the government and the police who is going to do the action. I at the present, it's really infuriating to see how the political parties are throwing the blame game to one another. In fact, I don't want to see this incident as some random incident, rather to see as a pattern. Back, you see in 2014, when the NDTV assessment, the cases of racial discrimination, racial violence is not something new. In 2014, back then it was UPA government. And now the same thing is happening in 2025. Now it's a BJP government. Now the political parties are saying that even the Kapil Sibal from the Congress, they are demanding the Home Minister and Prime Minister, they should do something. Yes. So it's more of like blaming each other to get some brownie points for electoral gains. Absolutely. We are so fed up with all this politics. We want some real solutions.
Absolutely. So real solutions is what you want. Thank you all of you for... Absolutely, Philip, we get that point. You wanted to say something. Yes, finish your point.
Yeah, real solution in the sense we want to propose to have a very stringent laws to fight this racial discrimination and also to respect the differences among across all the communities living in this nation. Absolutely. Then only the real solution for racial discrimination will be there. So
I think that's a very fair ask. Stringent laws, stricter implementation, and more importantly, respectful communication and respect for each other's diversity. Thank you all of you for being part of this broadcast. Angel Chakma's murder is not just a tragedy, it's also a mirror to our realities. It cannot be dismissed as remarks in jest, or it just needs to be recognized as a symptom of deeper discrimination, prejudice, bias that our system has. It also needs to force us to think as to how every student in India needs to feel safe, respected and seen. Otherwise, the promise of education would remain incomplete. With that, it's time for a short break. More news and updates on the other side.